good fats that are good for you, and there's bad fats that are not. Omega-3 fatty acids are some of those good fats that are good for you.
Why? I guess time to go into biochemistry.
Plant-based eating is good for reproduction across the board in different...
Why? Not going to be pleasant to say, but if you look at the fetus of a carnivore mother versus a vegetarian mother, you'll see that the vegetarian mother literally has calcifications in the fetus. I don't even think I actually know the biochemistry behind why it's such a big deal. What you really need to know is just glucose oxidation is bad and polyunsaturated fat content increases lipid peroxidation. If you know those two things, you could probably just figure everything else out. You'll go down the correct rabbit hole. So in this video, we're going to be reviewing Natalie Crawford, MD, and she's apparently fertility doctor. Now, already I know that most doctors, when it comes to nutrition and biochemistry, they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And when I say no idea, I really do mean no idea. So maybe she has an idea, maybe she doesn't, but we'll find out. We'll see.
Diet. So the keto diet is when you're avoiding carbohydrates altogether. Therefore, your body has to get into your fat and break down your fat. Yes, keto diet can help with quick weight loss. So if you're wanting to drop pounds quickly, that can be beneficial.
Okay, it will help. I would say there's much better alternatives, but yes, it will help. Let's see if she knows what she's talking about. I'm waiting for it.
It is not a way to sustain long term. Most people...
It's a much better way.
Cannot, and it's not really improving your parameters overall. So I don't consider it.
Oh, that's not true. She's crazy. Okay, so first off, when you increase the amount of meat in your diet, which is basically what you're doing when you're removing carbs, what you're actually also doing is that means you're increasing the amount of cholesterol. And take a guess what cholesterol does in the body. That's right. It makes testosterone. It makes estrogen. It makes all of these sex steroid hormones. And take a guess what those sex steroid hormones are important for. That's right. They're important for getting pregnant. So, okay. The fact that she says it's not sustainable already, is it a good idea? In my opinion, I don't think keto is a good idea. I think that carnivore is definitely much better, but I'm assuming that keto means animal-based, by the way, so I'm not entirely too sure. If keto does mean animal-based, then it is definitely better than the alternative, which is adding in plants. I don't think adding in plants is good at all. We already know, if you look at the, this is not going to be pleasant to say, but if you look at the basically fetus of a carnivore mother versus a vegetarian mother, you'll see that the vegetarian mother literally has calcifications in the fetus. Like, that's not good. That's not good at all for the fetus. So where can those calcifications come from? Oh yeah, that's right. Turns out oxalates are very helpful in that. I mean, there's a lot of other things that could be causing the calcifications, but that's, once again, that's not what you want. So who knows? Let's see if I have to go into more biochemistry, like real biochemistry.
A fertility diet mechanism. Although if you have a significant amount of weight to lose, it may be a strategy to weight loss that can help you get to a healthy weight to conceive. Omega-3 fatty acids. Fat in the American diet has been such a faux pas. There was such an emphasis on low-fat foods for so long that many of us grew up in an era of being ingrained in our brain that fats are bad for us. But that's not really the case. It depends on the type of fat. And there are...
Yes and no. I hope she says omega-3 fatty acids you don't want high concentrations of, but we'll see, right? We'll see.
Good fats that are good for you, and there's bad fats that are not. Omega-3 fatty acids are some of those good fats that are good for you.
Why? I guess time to go into biochemistry. So first off, what are omega-3 fatty acids? They're polyunsaturated fats, which means they have a double bond. And why is that double bond kind of a big deal? Because that double bond allows for the delocalization of electrons to occur of that fat. Now, you might say, okay, so what? Well, the problem is that if you add a reactive oxygen species to that, which we'll probably cover eventually, then what ends up happening is that fat ends up getting attacked. It ends up basically becoming a toxic off product. And not only that, if it's attached to the surface of the cell membrane, or who knows what it's attached to, then it could end up actually lysing it. And if it lyses whatever it's attached to, for instance, the cell membrane, then you have some really big problems, because now you have necrosis of the cell, which otherwise basically means you're stimulating an inflammatory response for absolutely no reason. So yeah, you don't want that one. You definitely don't want that one in higher concentrations. The next one, it would probably be, we could do linoleic acid, but I mean, I'll give her a chance to speak. Maybe she'll redeem herself.
They are very antioxidant and anti-inflammatory.
Oh, do not say that. Oh my God. Okay. If there is anything, it's pro-oxidant. It's not antioxidant. The reason why it's pro-oxidant is because it's more susceptible to lipid peroxidation. It has a double bond, which means it's pro-oxidant, because that oxidation, that whole thing of antioxidants, is to prevent reactive oxygen species from attacking it. And that reactive oxygen species, I won't go, it comes from glucose oxidation, and I'll just keep it at that for now. Once again, that's not healthy, because that's literally pro-inflammatory. It's not anti-inflammatory, it's pro-inflammatory. You look at the biochemistry mechanisms of it, it is pro-inflammatory. It causes more reactive oxygen species to just go absolutely haywire, because when they're generated, they get really attracted to a delocalized set of electrons, because it has a double bond and a pi bond, so it's going to happen. Once again, that's not true.
It can be found in foods such as fish, but also in walnuts, chia.
Yeah, fish is your best option of it, probably, if you want it, if you're really looking for it for some reason.
Seeds, flax. Generally, studies that look at omega-3 fatty acids look at intake of higher omega-3s versus other types of fats. And these studies look like there's improved across the board in reproductive parameters, meaning the more omega-3s that you intake, the lower the chance of anovulation or not ovulating, the shorter the time to pregnancy, improved embryo development in the lab, and improvement in endometriosis on pain.
See, if you could just actually tell me the specifics as to why, then this statement wouldn't be true. Why exactly is it? Be specific. Once again, can't be specific. Can't tell me the biochemistry behind it. I mean, I don't think she doesn't. I don't even think actually know the biochemistry behind why it's such a big deal, because obviously all you really need to know is just glucose oxidation is bad, and polyunsaturated fat content increases lipid peroxidation. If you know those two things, you could probably just figure everything else out. You'll go down the correct rabbit hole. But if you don't know those two things, then you end up not really having any idea about what's going on. Once again, this is not healthy for any of the cells at all. Lipid peroxidation is not healthy for any cell. Glucose oxidation is only mandatory for one cell, and that is your erythrocytes, your red blood cells. Every other cell, no. So, no.
To truly be plant-based, you eat all plants and no animal products at all. No meat, no dairy, no eggs, no honey, none of it. However, I think of plant-based as you can eat a lot of plants, and that's still, if it's the basis of the majority of your diet, you can still be plant-based.
Yeah, no. I mean, yes, that is what plant-based is, but I don't think that's healthy. Once again, who knows? I don't know how much I'm gonna have to go into detail, but already it's not looking good. If she says majority of the diet, that's the last thing you want to do. I was in that situation, and I screwed up my body because of it, big time. So have many other people, for that matter. Actually, there are plenty of other people besides me who have ended up screwing up their body big time because of plants. And I'll probably eventually explain why, but I'll give her a chance to speak.
Plant-based eating is good for reproduction across the board in different...
Why? Once again, why? What does it do? Where are you getting your estrogen from? That's right. You're getting less of it. You're getting less of all of these essential hormones for reproduction. That's not good, because what ends up happening? Now you start having fertility problems. What else ends up happening? Oh my God, your hair falls out. Oh my God, who would have thought? You become emaciated. You start losing tons of muscle mass. You start getting really irritable. Who would have thought? Once again, this is like, ugh. Oh well.
Different studies in different circumstances. So by no level is eating plants bad for you. No data supports that. One of the largest studies.
Oh my God. This is what I mean. This is why if you rely off of epidemiology, you're not going to get an accurate answer. Why? One, because we already know actually a lot of epidemiology studies are bought out. And if you're really interested in that, then you can go check out my video on why the rich don't want you to eat meat. But oh boy, no, plants are definitely less healthy, and we can just a very quick way to tell. Let's look at the highest plant-based consumption, for instance, one of the highest base, and let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum. So highest meat consumption. Hong Kong and India. India eats more plants. Hong Kong eats more meat. Most meat, actually, for Hong Kong. Hong Kong lives to 85. India lives to 67. Now you might say, oh my God, well, that's because obviously India is in poverty, right? Tons of poverty in India. Well, okay, even if you did manage to get rid of all of the poverty in India, that would only increase the lifespan by 7 years. So that means you're only living to 74, 75 maybe. So is that really? What should that tell you? That's a 10-year difference in lifespan. That's a huge difference. And you're telling me that plants are still healthy? Really? And all the evidence suggests that? Really? Even just from basic epidemiology, no. It's an obvious no. From just measuring the lifespan of different populations, it's obviously no. But, I mean, hey, biochemistry can explain this, or you can do this just by looking at highest meat consumption versus highest plant consumption. Crazy.
Of women in general, looking at kind of population-based characteristics of reproductive age. Women was called the nurse's health.
Okay. Oh boy. PCOS. Take a guess how you get rid of that. That's right. You get rid of that by increasing cholesterol intake. Why is that? Because once again, what's the problem here? The problem is you're not getting all the essential hormones. And now problems start to happen in your body. Because it turns out, actually, a lot of these hormones are very essential, sometimes in preventing the immune system from going crazy, or preventing something from screwing up in your body. And lo and behold, what ends up happening? Oh no, I don't have enough cholesterol. So now I don't have enough estrogen. So now I have PCOS. Now I have PMS pain. You know that isn't normal. All of that is not normal at all. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Who would have thought? Wow. Carbohydrates play a role too. I would say lowering carb intake would actually probably help get rid of this, but it's not the definite cure. It's definitely not a long-term cure, especially. You won't be able to do that long-term and feel good at the same time. You'll feel like trash because insulin will be constantly elevated and inflammatory markers will be through the roof.
Study. In this study, specifically looking at women who do not ovulate, so your PCOS women, the higher level of protein that came from plant sources over animal sources, higher rates of ovulation, and higher rates of getting pregnant.
What? Okay, let's look at the first question then. Why exactly is plant protein then better than animal protein? What's the difference? You know what protein really is? Protein is just amino acids. We'll just take, so each essential amino acid, like threonine, for instance, will be assigned to the letter K in knowledge. And then you just keep assigning it K, N, O, W, L, E, D, G, and E. Assign one to each. And what ends up happening? Well, that's exactly how you get your protein. That's right. You have to spell that word knowledge. But the problem is that plants have very imbalanced amounts of amino acids. And that's a big deal because what ends up happening is when you have tons of these really imbalanced amino acids, you're actually not getting enough protein. And not enough protein means, yeah, that's right. You're not able to spell that word as much. Because protein is always based on the amino acid with the weakest link. Weakest link. So you have really low, let's say you have 1K and you have a million of every other letter. You're only spelling that word once. That's all the protein you're going to get. So once again, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And there's a reason why vegans go emaciated very, very quickly and why they're anemic and why there's a lot of other problems with them. Yeah.
Time, money, emotional, and physical energy into IVF, I certainly want you to know that studies support eating less red meat and more plants is going to be better for your embryos.
No. Don't do that. Your kid will turn out worse. I am kind of an example, honestly. Your kid will also turn out less attractive. He will turn. There's a lot of problems that will end up happening. A lot of problems that will end up happening. And this isn't really emphasized or talked about, actually. But they will end up happening, I guarantee you. If you think that a model is an attractive person, a model isn't attractive. A model is what a normal human is supposed to look like. That's closer to what just a normal human looks like. Do you really think that people are just supposed to be randomly unattractive based on genetics? Do you see randomly unattractive deer or randomly unattractive bears? Randomly unattractive cats, dogs, any of it? Really? No. Wolves? No. Why? Once again, it's... Ugh.
Now, why red meat? Like, why is that the bad guy that we pick on? Red meat is very interesting. Red meat has the highest levels of advanced glycation in products, has endocrine disrupting chemicals.
Enlighten me. Please enlighten me. No, really.
Interesting. Red meat has the highest levels of advanced glycation.
Advanced glycation. Oh my god. She means advanced glycation. She doesn't mean. Oh my god. First off, no, actually, it doesn't. Why is that? Turns out that glucose is how you actually get more glycation to occur in the first place. That's what the term is. Glycation. Glucose. Literally, that's what it does. Glucose will bind to something in the cell. Doesn't really matter what it is. It could be a protein or a lipid. Doesn't really matter. It will bind to it and it'll make it useless. That doesn't help. And where do you get that glucose from? Yeah, that's right. You get it from carbohydrates. You don't get it from red meat. So why is she saying you get it from red meat? You see? That doesn't really make much sense. Doesn't look like somebody did their biochemistry.
And product.
Somebody completely forgot biochemistry, actually. Or just skipped it somehow. Maybe cheated in the class, for that matter. It's just shameful for me to see doctors say this. I don't care that they weren't educated incorrectly. It's the fact that they can't critical think and actually apply what they learned to real life. Because if you applied what you learned to real life, especially in biochemistry, you will learn one thing that's very common in biochemistry, very talked about, and it's the fact that more ATP is made during fatty acid oxidation than glucose. In fact, you even learn that in cell biology. You don't even need to take biochemistry for that. So that should already tell you something's wrong. In fact, that was my very first step towards learning all of this stuff, and me going out of my way and going, there's something wrong here. Do they really know what they're talking about? Do these people really know what they're talking about? Turns out that no. Most of them don't. They have no clue.
Has endocrine disrupting chemicals.
Enlighten me, which ones? Endocrine disrupting chemicals. You get more of them from plants. What are they called? They're called phytoestrogens. They will literally mimic estrogen. There are plenty of other phytotoxins. These do not exist in meat. What is she talking about? Give me one.
It has hormones in it. It's very...
Hormones. Yeah. Yeah, which hormones? No, it doesn't. It has cholesterol in it. And that cholesterol is what you use for estrogen or testosterone or any other hormone that you want to make. This is so delusional.
Inflammatory to the body. So the foods that I said are good so far are all anti-inflammatory.
Really? Plants are anti-inflammatory? Please tell me one anti-inflammatory plant. One. There isn't one. Why? Because they all cause an inflammatory response. They all have phytotoxins. They all have defense chemicals one way or another. Not only that, they have glucose in them and polyunsaturated fats, which are, once again, more inflammatory. Because lipid peroxidation leads to necrosis of the cell, which leads to caspases being released, leads to an inflammatory response. Glucose oxidation leads to, who would have thought, more reactive oxygen species, oxidative stress, lipid peroxidation once again, and now you got even bigger problems. This is crazy. It's crazy how this is coming out of this person's mouth. Once again, this is just shameful out of a doctor, especially coming out of a doctor's mouth.
It's like so many questions about it. Like, soy's bad for you. There's this thought that since soy's a phytoestrogen, that it's going to give men boobs and be
okay, enlighten me, please. Talk about
really
this.
Terrible. Nope, not true. Soy.
Yes, it does. I'm living proof of this. I got gynecomastia because of this. What a joke. Oh my god.
It is not bad for you. It has not been associated with negative reproductive.
No, this is what I mean. Associated. Be specific with biochemistry. No. Stop giving me all of these epidemiology studies which can't even control for variables. Once again, no idea what she's talking about. It's honestly, this is shameful. So many doctors are speaking nonsense. It's really literally hurting the population. Who would have thought? Turns out depression, anxiety, BPD, ADHD, what else? Obesity, heart attacks, every problem just seems to be going up. Healthcare expenses seem to just be going up. And yet meat consumption is actually going down. Explain that one. Once again, it's so delusional. All right, so I'm not really going to go any further because honestly, berating doctors and schooling them is not something I enjoy too much. But if I do it because I genuinely think that this misinformation needs to stop. This is ridiculous. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you learned a little bit about biochemistry and what actually to eat and how you should eat, because clearly this is not the correct way to eat. If you want to actually eat correctly, just eat meat. If you just go check out my Science Behind Carnivore playlist, it explains that in way more detail. It's a little more complicated than just meat in my opinion, because I think that adding eggs or a couple other things are really important, because if you don't basically eat all parts of the animal, you won't actually be able to sustain yourself in some sense or another. Thanks again for watching. If you found the video informative, then please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below, because it really does help the channel grow. If you want me to review anybody else in particular, please let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see all of my videos ahead of time, please click the join button down below. And if you also want to see my videos not necessarily super scientific based or evidence based, then please go click on my Patreon and check out my Patreon. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.